Welcome to yet another episode of Let's Talk Nutrition, hosted by Camila Miranda and Natalie Garza. Good evening, everyone. Today we're joined to talk about many interesting topics, especially some controversial ones, which have to do with food, nutrition, and animals. So if you're interested in these topics, stay tuned because today we're talking about veganism and the vegan lifestyle and all its implications. Hi, my name is Camila.
And my name is Natalie, and we are going to be your host on today's podcast about veganism.
Well, let's start off with our perspective. What do you think about veganism, Natalie?
Well, I personally understand veganism. However, I am not 100% in favor of it, since, as the RESPYN said, that going vegan is a really bold choice to make, since you are taking so many sources of essential nutrients out of your diet. For example, cutting out the main source of the best quality of protein, although you can eat other vegan foods that also contain protein to make it up, but this protein will not be of the same quality as meat.
Yeah.
Also, being vegan requires a person to seek for ways to ensure they are getting all the nutrients, and they might have to resort to taking food supplements in order to compensate for it. Also, being vegan has had shown its benefits for the environment as there is less waste produced on excessive packaging.
Yeah, I totally agree with your opinion. In my perspective, veganism is very respectable as a lifestyle, but I think that you need to do it correctly to help ensure that you're getting the nutrients your body needs, as you mentioned, especially protein, which is most commonly obtained from animal products. Since there is little knowledge about which products from plant-based can give you these amounts of protein. I believe that if you obtain protein from places that treat the animal in the right ways before being sacrificed for our consumption, that you're not hurting as much the ecosystem, since as the Paleolithic ways of life state that the food chain is meant for humans to consume animal products, especially those providing from cow's meat. And it is also a very important source of fuel for our bodies. Even though I do consume animal protein, especially meat, I prefer
Me too.
buying eggs from chickens that are cage free, since there you can avoid some damage. Also, I like buying cruelty free makeup and not wearing leather or fur clothing. As I learned in my nutritionist class and by reading articles, especially by the RESPYN, as you mentioned, I learned that protein is more easily obtained from animal products since they contain a higher content of protein, such as the egg white, which is one of the best proteins you can eat. Also, I like to base my diet on not plant based since I don't like to risk my nutrition by having to take supplements or having to portion properly the amounts of protein that I am consuming in my body. But
Yeah.
Natalie, I want to know what influenced your opinion and your perspective.
Well, what influences my opinion is definitely the cultural factor. Like, from a cultural factor, it can be seen
Yeah.
how nowadays more people seem to notice that unhealthy lifestyle there is in the world. 'Cause, there's a lot of obesity or malnutrition, and new ways of getting healthy have been promoted. Hence why some people turn to veganism as a way of getting healthier. Or this is what Emma Stanford said, literally said that on the title of her article, titled Veganism is a Cultural Phenomenon. So also let's not forget how there is a lot of animal cruelty in the world. And this way, people who turn vegan don't feel guilty because they are not eating those animals. However, this doesn't mean it is the best option, as you already said. Veganism seems to be adapting more and more every day in the Mexican culture, so because nowadays here it's being introduced, so
Yeah.
this veganism lifestyle, like, I think it's pretty much comes from like the US, and since we are the neighbor country, I feel like Mexico is getting influenced by this veganism diet. So yeah, this is basically a lifestyle, but I do also see this more as a trend. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I also was influenced culturally since, Mexican cuisine is predominant in eating cow's meat, such as in tacos or in other foods.
Yeah,
Also,
totally.
In our society, meat consumption is not seen as a bad thing. It's actually pretty normal. People make barbecues or have dinners in which it is the main course. Even
Yeah.
though veganism is more and more popularized as a diet and more as a lifestyle, it has not yet reached a peak of popularity in Mexico, as you stated, but the United States is a big influence for this, since more and more people in the United States have become familiarized with this lifestyle and are introducing it into Mexico, since it is our neighbor country. I believe that it has not yet reached its potential peak since, well, there is not a lot of vegan products in our market.
Yeah.
For example, in the US, you can find easily vegan cheese or vegan meat, and here you cannot find those as easily, you know?
Yeah,
I
as
think,
well. I was going to say that what you said is like really resonates with what I think of from an economic perspective. But this factor, the economic factor, also influences what you said, that it is not very accessible in Mexico. This is because the economic status plays a huge role in veganism, since it is a lifestyle of choice that is mostly seen on people with a high to medium economic level. Since actually healthy food is more expensive than junk food, so eating healthier
yeah.
is more expensive. This factor influences my perspective in a way that it seems to me that veganism is more popular in people with a higher economic level than the majority of the population, because they are the ones that can afford healthy food the easiest. So, for example, PETA says in their article titled "Vegan options are more expensive than non-vegetarian counterparts. Can I afford to go vegan?" Where they answer that prepared vegan food, for example, from a restaurant, is
Yeah,
more expensive. But they also say that if you consider that you're eating healthier, then like it has more benefits. Like you have to put it into a balance. So you eat healthier but more expensive. Like that doesn't make sense to me at all. But that's
yeah.
why,
I don't like that you need to pay more to eat healthier. I think there
yeah,
are many ways that you can eat healthily without having to spend too much money.
exactly.
Yes, there are many factors that go to play in these opinions about veganism. For example, in terms of education, I can argue that I do possess the knowledge about this diet and its consequences or benefits regarding this lifestyle. But in my house, I have been taught that a healthy diet does include meat, at least for me, like eating cow's meat, chicken, eggs, etc. And as we have learned in nutrition class together,
Yeah.
yeah, we read a lot of articles about this topic of veganism and protein intake, etc. All these articles were written by the NCBI, and they all stated that you need to make sure that you have the right amounts of protein in your diet. And I believe that if you do not have enough knowledge to know about these topics, that you cannot take into account everything that plays in going vegan.
Of course. And I also think that all this, like this veganism lifestyle is more seen in people who are younger. So
Yeah,
as
totally.
I have already said before, I feel like the United States is where we see more of this veganism diet going on. So actually this is because this also includes the educational factor as well. The CDC states in their article, Nutrition Education in U.S. Schools, that schools play an important part in teaching from a very young age how to eat healthy, which backs up my point that people are nowadays more aware that they have to eat healthier, since in the USA, nutrition education is part of their education program so that they can
Yeah,
pass on this knowledge to children so that they can like start taking care of themselves. And maybe this is why some people might feel like young people might feel like they have to turn to veganism, but not necessarily, you know?
yeah, I think that they should implement more nutrition knowledge in Mexico. I don't think that there is enough knowledge about all these topics and about how to fuel your body correctly.
Of course.
As you said, it is very common in young people to go vegan. Like you said, with younger people, it is very very common to go vegan. But I believe that this has also to do with the physical appearance aspect, with gender stereotypes, such as that females need to be skinny or need to fit a certain body image. Also, I learned in an article written by Emily Krempholtz in Buzzworthy that one of the most common reasons to go vegan is to lower the BMI. I didn't know that. And it's very interesting since it states that there are many health benefits to this, such as reducing the possibility of obesity or diabetes or heart disease and even some cancers. But I believe that if you don't get enough protein intake, you can also risk some diseases or
Yeah.
obesity, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, even. But I don't know, Natalie. It's very hard to put this on a scale since you can
Oh,
also
okay, okay.
risk
Yeah.
deficiencies by not having enough protein in your diet. But I believe that if you know how to take on this lifestyle in the right and correct
Totally.
way, you can avoid all the damage that can go into it.
So I also agree with that. I also didn't know that it was to lower the body mass index. But I also wanted to mention that another factor that influences obviously my perspective on veganism is like, as we already said, this is kind of like a trend that comes from the USA and all that stuff. So I want to introduce the environmental factor, which is that more people are also being aware of the current environmental situation, which is also another reason why they seem to turn to a vegan diet. So, as Silvia Castañeda in 2017 investigated on her assessment, she compared two diets, the Mediterranean diet and the vegan diet, where veganism has a positive impact on the environment, since she found out that the Mediterranean diet, for example, has a global warming potential twice as high as a vegan diet. She also says that a Mediterranean diet has a regional biodiversity impact 3 times greater than the vegan diet, since there is a lot of land being used for livestock to grow and feed them. So, in conclusion, many people go vegan because it also benefits the environment.
Yeah, I think that is one of the biggest factors. But I also wanted to talk about, religion. It's very controversial, but it is important for these types of topics since, for example, in some religions, it is not as tolerable or accepted to eat cow's meat. For example, I was reading an article the other day about the Hindu religion and how they cannot eat meat. In this article that was written by Joy Jones in 2016, it said that the Buddha preaches nonviolence towards living creatures, especially the cow. So it's very interesting because in these cultures and in these religions, they see the cow as a precious animal, as something sacred. And in
Yeah,
our religion, the Catholic religion,
yeah, I know.
yeah, it's very interesting. And in our religion, since we're Catholics, we can see that they state
Yeah,
that God was given animals to us so that we can fuel our bodies
yeah,
and obtain what nature can give
absolutely.
to us.
Yeah,
And
totally agree.
it's very interesting to see how in different countries or religions we can see veganism as more of a typical way of living and not so much as a trend or as a, oh my god, I'm gonna get skinny with this diet or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah, you have to consider a lot of factors before you go vegan.
Yeah.
So, with all this stated and discussed, we can see that there are many ethical dilemmas surrounding this topic. So, one of them is, for example, is it acceptable to consume animal products in order to help ensure a proper protein balance in our bodies?
Oh my god, Natalie, this question is such a dilemma. Like, how can you choose between wanting to
Yeah, it's such
protect
a
the
dilemma.
environment or wanting to be healthy? But anyways,
I think we have prepared for today. Thank you everyone for listening.
hope you enjoyed this podcast and stay tuned for more.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.